We must not be misled by Suella Braverman's statement that we will do whatever it takes to stop the boats, because it's not quite as straightforward as it sounds. It doesn't, although probably we could all agree that we will do whatever it takes to stop the boats. We don't want people crossing the channel, risking their lives to come to the UK. It's absurd and wrong, morally, politically, legally indefensible. But that's not necessarily the case. What she's actually saying is that she will do whatever it takes to enforce her plan, or the plan of Priti Patel, because she doesn't seem to have any original ideas of her own. And that's slightly different, because there are many other ways in which we could stop the boats. One way would be to erect processing centres in Calais. In fact, we'd probably be paying France less money than we're paying them at the moment to have a permanent processing centre in Calais, or various processing centres along that coast. That would be a solution. The Braverman response also ignores the 13 Congolese refugees killed in the Karagongi district, in the camps in Karagongi in Rwanda, and in 2018. And significantly, there was no proper response to that investigation. Indeed, little more than a cursory review, and I can't see anything here. The sort of review that Braverman might herself encourage of people conducting independent reviews in our parliament, but it's not in our tradition, it's not in our custom, and it's not in the wider international standards. It doesn't meet the wider international standards of transparency. And with this hanging over Rwanda, I cannot understand why even Lord Burnett, who's the Lord who thought the Rwanda scheme was credible, could possibly think that Rwanda is safe, given its failure to produce an investigative report into the Kizaba refugee protests in 2018 in February, quite apart from the LGBTQ plus policies and attitudes that still exist and are encouraged in Rwanda. And the fact that the February protests were, and the suppression of those protests and the deaths, 12 deaths, were followed by a further April protest and suppression and a 13th death. So it's not just one incident, it's two specific incidents. There are other incidents of suppression of protest and a disregard for the well-being of the refugees held in the Rwandan camps. And that doesn't augur well. The fact that the UNHCR is using Rwanda to process Libyan refugees is neither here nor there. This is something which is now trumped up by the Conservative government to justify their plan. I don't see that that can be justified. Now, as far as accommodation goes, it looks fine. It looks fine. As far as the people go, they're lovely. But there is this overarching, well, there are two issues. The first is the issue of the Congolese refugees who were killed and the failure to conduct a proper investigation. And the second is the conceptual, the moral, the legal idea of transferring our responsibility to a third country. Now, none of the three judges seem to have a problem with that. I do. And I would imagine in the Supreme Court, that may well be the issue of focus. So the issue of focus may well shift with more legal minds addressing it. But so far, the Court of Appeal doesn't seem to think that is an issue. I think it abrogates our responsibility particularly with respect to international law. Now, where it becomes much more interesting is if there were a transgression in Rwanda, who would be held to blame? And I think that would be us.